Hello everybody and welcome back to our podcast. As you know, my name is John, Saha resident, and I am here with David and Mary, our usual regulars. I will be going over to them soon. This podcasting is about energy saving tips as we're coming up towards winter, and we could all do like saving a few pennies here and there. One of the more important things is to keep yourself looked after at home, and I say look after the pennies and look after yourself as well. Right, so Mary.
Yes.
Hello,
John,
Mary.
Hello. Yes, very pleased to be here. Hi, everybody. I hope that some of the things we're going to be coming up with in this podcast is they're going to be useful for you. So I'm going to start off with a few tips. My first tip on energy saving is around laundry and has to do with your wash loads and so on. So tips from this comes from quite a few different places, but British Gas have certainly said that it's good to do a full load of washing rather than a small load. So if you can cut down the amount of loads and make sure you're doing a full load in your washing machine, that will help to save energy. Keeping your washing machine filters clean is a really good idea, and also, you know, tumble dryers and so on. Keeping all those filters clean will help anything work more efficiently. And on the subject of tumble dryers, maybe doing a bit more line drying is also a handy tip. So if it's a nice day and you're lucky enough to have a garden with a washing line, it would be really good energy saving to hang your washing out rather than put it in the tumble dryer. So that's my few little tips on laundry. So I just thought I'd mention using standby mode now. So unless an appliance is switched off at the wall, like your TV, it continues to use energy. And this energy actually costs the average household £35 a year. This is according to British Gas. So basically, if you can, as long as it's something like a television or a guest computer or something similar, if you can turn it off at the wall, then it would be really good to do so. And finally, my final tip for the day is switching to LED bulbs. So traditional bulbs are very inefficient. They're actually getting more and more difficult to get hold of, traditional bulbs anyway, but LED bulbs really save energy. So changing to LED bulbs is a real energy saver. And that's me done. I'm going to hand over to David, who's got a few more tips for you.
Thanks, Mary. Hello, everybody. I'm David again, and Saha resident. Thanks to Mary for those tips. One of the things that I think I'd like to just reiterate, and we've talked about it before, as we are coming up to a very cold period of the year, people have a tendency to want to keep warm, like we all do. One thing I want to push to people is don't be tempted to overload extra sockets with high energy heating, things like, portable heaters, etc., because overloading sockets can be dangerous. So in terms of heating tips, and I know, John, we were talking about this earlier, with your heating, one of the things that you can look at is make sure, that your heating is actually working properly. If it isn't, then contact Saha and get them to look at it. Don't leave it too long. But John, you were talking about earlier leaving your heating on.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been under the impression, and there is some sense with it, I suppose, that a lot of people will just put the heating on when they feel cold. They'll switch it off. But as I understand it, and it does make a little bit of sense, because obviously through the winter months you're going to be cold anyway. It's better to actually leave your heaters on, even if you've got them down low. So obviously if the temperature does drop a little bit, they'll come back on. They'll keep your rooms warm. And keeping your rooms warm means that when you switch your heaters on or your heaters come on, they are not going to have to work that hard to get the rooms back up to temperature. Therefore, you are going to be saving a little bit of money by doing that. But obviously, you've also got to remember about things like insulation and the like. I mean, most of the houses now have got good insulation in anyway. You was also saying, David, about overloading sockets, etc., etc. Well, if you recall, not so long ago, we had a podcast regarding health and safety, and during that, he was saying about at Christmas, when you're overloading the power sockets for Christmas lights and things like that. You've also got to think on the case of, on the side of health and safety as well, as keeping your energy levels down. So it all adds up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the sort of high energy usage things, heating is obviously one of them, but it is important that people do keep warm. So simple things, like we were saying, John, putting adequate insulation in, blocking drafts. I used one of those, what I've always called them little sausages, but, to stop drafts coming under the doors, etc., and things like that. Little simple things. One of the other sort of high energy usage things that everybody needs to think about is obviously cooking. We use cookers quite a lot, but using a microwave, and I think, Mary, you were talking to me earlier about that. There's plenty of saving tips about using microwaves instead of your cooker every time. Another thing, when you're using cookers, if you've got gas, I've only got electric, so I'm not too bad, but if you've got gas cookers, make sure that you use them adequately. Don't overuse the gas. For example, if you've got only a small pan, just make sure that the gas is on so it's only heating in the pan and not the air around it, etc. Little simple things like that. And as John's already said, they do add up. And you talked about light bulbs, for example. If we all switch to LEDs, we can save 90% of our energy usage for the light bulbs.
I was also going to mention, sorry to interrupt, David, but I was also going to mention, just back on the cooking, according to the little, the British Gas pamphlet that I've got here, slow cooker is also a really efficient, one of the most energy efficient ways of cooking. So if you have a little slow cooker, that's also another way of saving some energy when you're cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're looking at is just not making major changes to the way we live and what we do, but tiny little things. For example, your refrigerator, making sure that the seals around the refrigerator are intact. If they're not, either if you can get a replacement or replace the seals, they're easy enough for most people to do. Make sure that you haven't got, sort of the freezer's only got one item in it. If you've only got one item, then perhaps think about turning it off or not using it, which can be quite difficult, I suppose. But yeah, turning the temperature down in the refrigerator. Don't have it on maximum so that it's actually iced up all over. So just turning it down a few degrees. All of those little things combined together can help you to reduce your energy usage, which is really what we're looking at, because as energy prices appear to be skyrocketing at the moment, every little helps, as they say.
Yeah, that's quite right. I just thought I'd mention, actually, when you're mentioning energy, I'm thinking about energy bills now, David, and yeah, so just thought I'd mention that there is some help out there for people on low income or pension credit in the form of £140 for a warm home discount. Now, I think to find out if you qualify, you need to contact your own energy supplier. And I would suggest that you do it as soon as possible. There's a finite amount of money and the supplier will be deciding who gets the discount. So the only qualification after they've said you can is that you've got to stay with your energy supplier until March 31st, because I think that's actually when you will get the money. So it's not an immediate payment, but it is out there. And I think it was just something worth mentioning.
I do actually apply for that myself, and I have recently applied for it. And I changed my energy supplier quite recently. And although I was led to believe that I was put onto the list as such, I didn't have to apply for it, I couldn't see anything on my account to say that I had applied. And so they did actually have a separate piece on their homepage, I believe. If you qualify for this, please apply through this link. And And that's what I did, and now it is actually pending and waiting for confirmation, which I wouldn't have really sort of like thought about. It's only because I happened to go on there, and I saw it, and I thought, well, it won't hurt to apply anyway, because they'd only give it to me once, and it's just as well I did, because I have missed it in the past, and so you are on a time limit, and I think when you said about being paid around sort of like end of March thing, I think they can pay you before that. I think the latest date they will pay you is at the end of March.
Oh, yes. And you're right, actually, John. I'm rereading here, and it says it will be paid by the 31st of March. Yeah. Which, which obviously means they can pay you beforehand, but you'll definitely get it by the 31st of March. Yeah. Quite right.
Yeah, good. Do the small things that are important that people tend to ignore in terms of energy saving. So turning lights off when you don't need them, don't charge in your phones when you don't need to, making sure that you don't put appliances in standby unless it's absolutely necessary. Simple little things like that, making sure that if you've got a washing machine, like you said, Mary, use full loads. If you've got a refrigerator, make sure that it's not up at maximum and burning through electricity it doesn't need to. Making sure that you exclude drafts as much as you can, because obviously sitting in the drafty room, you're making your heating work harder and little things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about looking around the house, checking everything, and just seeing if you can do those little things that any item that's using energy.
I was just looking, and I've actually got a thing from the Energy Saving Trust, who I've never actually heard of before, and they've actually given a potential savings thing. One less wash, because you said about the washing. If you do one less wash a week, it could be up to £8.
Yeah.
Filling the kettle with only the amount of water that you need. That's one that I mentioned. That's £6 as well, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's good.
Loads of different things on here, but it's interesting to read through. Well, we've covered quite a little bit of information there. There's obviously lots more tips. We've only just covered a small amount of things that we can actually do, but I should point out there are lots and lots of resources. Even your energy suppliers will give you the information to help you reduce your costs and obviously saving the energy as well. And I can recommend lots and lots of websites. I won't mention any here because there are so many, but if you go online as well, and if you've got the opportunity to go online, there's so much information out there. You'll be surprised at how much you can actually cover. So I do believe that we are at the end of our podcast. So I shall say goodbye to everybody and thank you for coming along again today. Mary and David, would you like to say your goodbyes?
Yes, thank you so much for listening. Please keep warm, stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks everybody for listening. See you all next time.
Bye.
And it's bye-bye from me again. Goodbye.